The last time I traveled home, and I think that was about 4 years ago, I wanted to drink palm wine. And I couldn't find palm wine in my village.
Which is weird.
It was very weird because people are not very willing to climb up to about 32 or 40 feet tree
yes.
to go and get palm wine and bring it down. And the old men that were doing it, they were all gone. And there's no new technology to use to get the palm wine to come down. People are talking about hydroponic farms today, where you have soilless farm.
You plant in the air.
So there's a whole building in Sharjah, for example, in the United Arab Emirates, where all the vegetables that is eaten in the UAE today are produced. They used to import, but now they don't import because they're using hydroponic farm. They don't need soil. In farming, it's not just about survival, it's beyond survival. It's for us to also understand that there's a prestige that comes with farm. And so when you see a farmer, and that's why a lot of people who went to seek asylum and they say to Americans and say, oh, your father is a farmer, and say, oh, you must be a very rich man. Because every American farmer is a rich person.
He's a rich person. Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Just Africa on Soup News Television, the last one for the year 2025. So we're drawing the curtains eventually. A show where we spotlight ideas, persons, and opportunities shaping the African continent. Across Africa, agriculture is often framed as hard labor with little reward, something young people try so hard to escape from rather than embrace. Yet, millions of Africans still depend on farming for survival. While food prices rise, imports increase, and of course, climate pressures intensify. The problem is no longer just production. It is perception, knowledge access, and connection to markets. This episode of Just Africa explores how a new generation of farmers is changing the story using media, digital platforms, and practical education to make agriculture visible, profitable, and of course aspirational again. I am Emmanuel Namolo, and of course I have with me my co-anchor, the very delectable Omevi Dollar, sitting right with me, and of course we're looking at how Africa is going to look like, and she epitomizes it. Hello, Omevi.
This is Just Africa.
Yeah. So what a way to wrap up.
It has been a beautiful 2025.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Amulo. Good afternoon to you, Lagos, Nigeria, and to everyone that is watching across the globe. Welcome to Just Africa. You were talking about food
farming,
security,
agriculture,
and all that. You know, you were very correct when you said it's agriculture. Farming was seen as old school, hard labor, and all that.
Stress.
People often look at it from the angle of the village style of farming, where you have to use those crude
elements, instruments and stuff. Yes,
you have to go
instruments,
to the farm.
bend your back.
Those of us that went to farm, we carry those loads on our heads. Yes, I actually did. But times are changing, and now young people are going into farming. They are going into agriculture, not just for the food's sake. Now they are now creating businesses. They are creating jobs. They are resilient. They are helping the African continent to fight food insecurity.
Yeah.
Now, funnily enough, they don't even wait for you to say, okay, our farm produce, we have to take it to the marketplace. They've turned the social media platforms to the marketplace.
Yeah.
So the trading, the buying, the selling happens on social media. So this is innovation. So it means that here in Africa, we can actually do things. We can actually produce enough for ourselves.
Yeah. The conversation is more like having more people who are going in now.
You understand?
Scale, so that we can fix two problems. There's job security, and of course, there's now food security.
Exactly.
We can fix those both problems at the same time with just one stroke of our talents.
And we also understand their fears, especially the ones that will have to go to the farm, insecurity, there will be attacks and all that. Yes. And I know that's something, when it comes to security, it is not an individual thing. It's a thing of the government. So I know that, yes, the government is working towards that. So, but if we have more younger people in that sector, in the agribusiness, if we have more people bringing in technology who really want Africa to overcome this food insecurity that we are having right now, then come on, we can beat it, really.
We can. The aim of this episode is very, very simple. to inspire, we want viewers to understand why agriculture must be seen as a modern business, how media can change farmer outcomes, and of course, what young people and young Africans need to build sustainable careers in agriculture, on the farm, and of course, beyond it. Our guest is the very, very intellectual, I call him cerebral, Dr. Idahosa Osamhanze. He's the Executive Director and Vice President of Femi Wash Limited. And of course, he's had his stints in agriculture. He always tells us stories about how he used to farm them with his parents, and then how they didn't like it, but somehow they were able to overcome it. Hello and welcome, Doctor.
Hello, Emmanuel Omave. Pleasure to be here in Just Africa this afternoon.
Yes, it's been a very long time Doctor came on this show. So
We've not had
it's a good
Dr.
thing. It's a good thing. I think we've not had him on this show.
Yeah, I felt no, but we have. But I think it was when we were still
Okay, just
cutting our teeth. Let's be like that. Yeah. Well, welcome, Doctor. Welcome,
It's
Doctor.
good to be here.
I know you shared a couple of stories how agriculture used to be back then and farming, and many of the young people didn't want to ascribe with it. Especially now we're getting into modernism. First off, what's the problem? Was it like farming was not popular anymore, or it wasn't bringing the money?
Well, I think there are a couple of issues here. When you say agriculture is framed, and I don't want to take it as something that is framed, but something that was a lived experience. Growing up as a child, you see, in those village days, parents needed more hands in the farm.
Okay, yeah.
So you find a lot of multiple marriages so that they can raise enough children who will do the cultivation and the rest of it. But we also saw that when our father got to a certain level in their life, they felt that the work was so tedious that they didn't pray that their children become farmers.
Okay.
True.
Yeah, it was so tedious. So there was nobody who was praying to have their children
As farmers.
inherit them as farmers. Because when you compare those who were living well and those who were living in abject poverty, you discover that a farmer can be in the farm for a whole year and he is not able to raise 40,000 at the end of the farm year. So, especially for us who came from where, of course, you have to do tube yam farming and the rest of it, cassava farming. So what you say is that the energy that you put into clearing of your farm, cutting of the woods, cleaning up the space, cultivating, planting, and at the end of the farm year, because you have to wait till the cassava is
Mature, yes.
matured or the yam is ripe enough for harvest. And then all that you can take, maybe for an acre of land or maybe 2 or 3 hectares of land that you have cultivated with whole energy, you may not get up to 40,000 at the end of the day as return. So agriculture was not profitable. And therefore, nobody wanted to stay in that realm where there was no profit. So parents started to think that the alternative to agriculture was to make their children go to school and find a white-collar job and then escape poverty. So that is the narrative, because the cutlass and whole kind of farming was really very tedious, really very tedious. And then, of course, you also find the government who were also romanticizing with smallholder farmers who were very poor. You'll find that when you are doing communication for agriculture, you will not see beautiful face like Omevi on the back of the page. So when we communicate it, we see old women who are almost half naked, with wrinkles everywhere in the faces, and old men who are bent over. The images that we flaunt, whether on TV when we report agriculture.
You're not wrong. You're not
And
wrong.
therefore, that was like telling somebody that, look, that's how your destiny and your future look like.
Yes.
And I don't think there was anybody who wanted to have that kind of a future. So these are the issues, of course, that we needed to confront. That is the issue of prestige. That was it something honorable for people to go to farm? It was not prestigious because, again, you also look at it from the point of view even of the curricular development of agriculture.
Yes.
We really also not think about people who become CEO as agripreneurs, who are wearing suits to farm, has not been conceived. So we train farmers like laborers who were going to be fetchers of waters and the cutters of firewood. And this, of course, that future, of course, is not incentivizing enough for people to want to take into agriculture. So these are some of the few things. Again, don't also forget that there was also no protection that was available for the farmers through deliberate policies of government. Because some people also ventured into some kind of farming. And I remember growing up as a child, some of my uncles who attempted to do rice farming. And all the investment went away because, number one, the birds were feasting heavily on the farm, and there was no harvest. So, and you know that you have to chase the bird. So people have to stay around with all manners of local technology to see if they can scare the bird away from sucking the milk of the So these were issues. And you are not seeing the opportunity of us to deal with pests. So that those who were doing beans and the rest kind of farming. So pestilence was a big problem. Like today now, you find that in some civilized communities, people are using drone for spraying and the rest of it.
Yes.
Those are not available. And this is a bigger problem. That government really was not too sincere in terms of really saying we are focusing on agriculture. So agriculture finance for most people was simply all the money that we put on fertilizer.
Okay, doctor. So at what point did people get it right that the agriculture is no longer the kind of hard labor it used to be back in the days of our foreparents? Because I will not say my parents were there. So I will say my grandparents right now. So at what point did they know that, okay, you really don't have to break your backs. You really don't have to.
We still really have not gotten it right.
Okay.
And I think that is the truth. Where agriculture has been gotten right is mostly in the western parts and Asia, where people have actually deployed organization as a service for agriculture. So that takes away the tediousness that is involved in terms of agriculture. Look at it from whichever platform you are going to look at. I was saying to somebody recently, the last time I traveled home, and I think that was about 4 years ago, I wanted to drink palm wine, and I couldn't find palm wine in my village.
Which is weird.
And why was that?
It was very weird because people are not very willing to climb up to about 32 or 40 feet tree to go and get palm wine and bring it down. And the old men that were doing it, they were all gone. And there's no new technology to use to get the palm wine to come down. Because it's the same rope that you will use to climb up. So you also find that a lot of people too who wanted to do palm oil, the one you call baga, we also need to use rope to climb up tall trees because there were no enough palm plantations that people were really concentrating. So they are looking for ripe fruits all over the places. So these were also huge issues. And of course, because there was no so much education to the farmer to really let others understand that agriculture is a business. It's not just a means of subsistence. So people were afraid to even have to yield their lands to plant palm trees, for example, because you need the yam to feed your family. You need the cassava to feed your family. And if you have to wait for the palm tree to produce its fruit, then of course you have to stay in hunger. So there's a whole lot of disincentive that makes it for rural people not to be able to participate in farming. And so we didn't take farming to them that will say, okay, well, if you are going to do palm plantation, there are still some food crops that you can actually put in the midst of it that can give you a survivor for some time. So all these things were the disincentive. Now, land tenure is also a very big problem in Africa, especially when you have in Nigeria where we have not been able to address the land use decree in Nigeria, which gives land principally to the state. holding a trust for people.
Everything, yes.
So there's a whole lot of people who also want to do farming. They don't even have access to land. And this is a very big problem. So I am interested to do farm. If your father does not have the farmland, then of course it's either you go to rent or you go to buy.
Yes.
And some people are not willing to rent, some people are not willing to buy.
Yeah.
So all these things are still constraints that we see around agriculture. So we can't say really that we have escaped. Some few people are trying to do so much as producing or bridging those gaps.
Yes.
But they are very few, honestly speaking. And that's why food security is still a big problem.
Yes.
I was speaking with some of our colleagues some few days ago, and we're talking about looking at what happens, especially with the current drop in price. And they said, oh, farmers are groaning. The reason was that we decided to bring in food from outside, and therefore the prices of what is produced here has fallen down, and it's becoming even a disincentive for people who are farmers. So because there are no public policies in place that protects harvest and yields of farmers, these are big issues. We don't have farmers who have insurance, for example, that if weather becomes bad, and of course you take a loan and the loan goes down the drain, how do you recover it? I remember when they were doing the Edo election in 2020, they asked the former governor and said, you took a loan of about 6 billion to do rice farm. What happened? He said, of course, the farm failed. Now, what I miss is that 6 billion had gone down the drain.
Yes.
You can't recover it. Imagine that you are an individual farmer who takes this loan. So the bank will tell you and say, okay, because your farm failed, you will not pay back. So these are issues. So we don't even have insurance policies that protect farms. So all these things needs to be in place. So that even when people are taking facility to say they want to do farm, they will be able to say, well, in case farm fail, then we have something to resort to.
Is it that those of us who are not farmers are outside looking in, we understand the peculiarities that a typical farmer or agricultural person, because these policies are supposed to help fix the problems, but it's looking like it's creating more. Because when you're talking about insurance, some of these farmers don't even know that these things exist in the first place.
Yeah, because it's not designed for them. That's a problem. It's not designed for them. So if you understand that there are risks that are involved in farm, and therefore somebody must be ready, or a third party, who is best fit to carry that risk to be able to do it. And so I've not seen any agricultural insurance policy around. We have fire policy for house. So you can imagine that I take a loan to do maybe poultry, and all the birds are dead. How do I pay back?
Yeah.
If there's no insurance on it. So these are the things that we must also be thinking about. That because a policy issue, I'll call it the 4 Ps. We think profit, we think prestige, we think protection for farmers. And this will make people to want to take pride in going to the farm. And therefore, and then of course the fourth is that it has to be predictable. Now, when you go to Israel today, they are talking about predictive agriculture.
What does that mean? Like, I can tell...
Yes, of course. If I'm planting a mango tree today, I can determine the harvest that I want from that mango tree based on the inputs I put on the soil for that tree to produce certain level and quantum of harvest. So there's predictive agriculture because it's not just people thinking now that, of course, we can field a plant and determine what it gives to us back in return.
Okay.
So you can calculate what yield that is coming out at the end of the day. And that is possible today. People are talking about smart irrigation. Smart irrigation. So can we also find that we are investing in some of all these things that petty farmers cannot, but they can access it as a service. Where, of course, you have, for example, government put some of these things on the ground, and then farmer pay little thing. And maybe if they have a farm settlement, and then you just imagine that you have a chopper that comes to water that farm and then move away. So even if you don't have rivers within that area, but you can still produce water for those farms. Now, these are the things that we must creatively think about, because you look at it. If in the days of Isaac in the Bible, he can think about digging wells to irrigate his farm, today we must be able to look beyond some of these issues.
Yes.
Yeah. And these are the things that we must think about. There are also other areas, of course, where technology has also played a part. Take, for example, people are talking about hydroponic farms today, where you have soilless farm.
You plant in the air.
Yeah, soilless farm. So there's a whole building in Sharjah, for example, in the United Arab Emirates, where all the vegetables that is eaten in the UAE today are produced. They used to import, but now they don't import because they're using hydroponic farm. They don't need soil, just water and minerals. Then, of course, you can produce your carrots, you can produce your cucumber, you can produce all manners of vegetable within that building. So these are things that are happening elsewhere that Africa must also need to embrace so that it can make farm attractive. So if I'm going to a hydroponic farm, I don't need to wear Tata clothes. Yeah. I just need to dress with a suit and a tie and get to the farm. So these are the things that will make agriculture really very attractive to younger people.
Okay, doctor. Yes, Africans. We have Africans. I have questions when it comes to that system of farming, actually. But that is not happening in Africa now, or maybe to the best of my knowledge, I have not seen any African country practicing that system.
Yeah, there are some. You may not be able to see it. Exactly. I have some of my friends also having hydroponic farms in Nigeria right now.
Okay.
Really? Oh yeah, but
maybe
they're
small scale.
Okay.
Because that's why I feel it's not common yet. Now we have young people who are coming into agriculture, who are into the agribusinesses, and they are concerned as well. That's okay. Just as you mentioned, the borders are open, foods are being imported, and of course, it's affecting the local farmer. And this is causing a form of discouragement to young farmers. What do you think young farmers need to do that they are not doing? Aside the government now, we're not even talking about the government. How can young people scale up their agribusinesses?
I think the issue is, first of all, make it attractive to the young people.
To the young people, yeah? All right. I agree.
And I've spoken to some of these basic issues that you think we need to put in the ground. Because if you have to do farm, probably you need some land to do the farm. So how do we make land accessible to younger people? So that if they want to go into farming, they will have the opportunity to farm. Let me make you laugh a little bit. When I was about to start to have children, I made up my mind that I wasn't going to have too many of them. And then one day my mother called me and said, "That's not fair. You came in the midst of group of people. So why are you thinking of having one child or two children?" I said, that's the one I can accommodate. He said, "No, that's not true." So we were doing some practical analysis. So I told her, I said, "You see, you had 8 and it was easy because your husband had about 8 acres of land where he was farming. And so he could feed one child by an acre." Now, by land inheritance, we're 4 boys. So if we were to share the land that belonged to us, only 2 I have. So if I fed on 1 acre, so how do I feed my children
more than
2 with 2 acres? It's not going to be possible. Because you can't produce the kids. So, and she felt really very disappointed because but that was a reality. You see, because a lot of people feel that there's so much land around. But unfortunately, those land is not as free as you think.
Sure.
In my community now, a lot of our young people who want to farm, they have to go and travel for kilometers to go rent land to get land to farm.
But
it's as bad as that.
But doctor, there used to be something called communal farms.
Yeah, but that is what we're saying. So when my father was alive, he had communal farm. All those plots are in the same places. My uncles and everybody will stay around and farm in the same place. Now you imagine, my uncle had 11 boys. My father had 12 boys. You can imagine that all of us are staying in that plot of land. You can see what it will produce.
Because the land is not
expanding. Just 2 at that time. So the land is not expanding. And nobody is also putting this into consideration when we are talking and thinking policies about farming. That you see, because a land use system is a big problem and a hindrance to farm. Now look at it. The Bank of Agriculture has never worked. Now the commercial bank can loan money to farmers at this crazy rate of 27%. And that if you add management fee and put everything on it, it's about 33% to 38% for you to get a loan. How do you put that in farm?
Well, that's not going to bring out here. Guaranteeing the
so when you go elsewhere, they're having loan at 1 digit, maybe 1%, 5%, to encourage people to go in. So you can take facility to buy fertilizer, to buy equipment, and get into farm. And so you can project that, look, in this number of years, I'm able to pay back my loan. But we don't have those incentives around. So we have to first incentivize the young people to be able to go to farm. But most importantly, it must be prestigious. So farm must not just seen as a means of survival. It should be seen as a business that can be profitable.
So
Okay.
essentially, I'm sorry, foreign governments, have done these things and we can see it and use it as a blueprint. African governments, successive ones, is it that when they go to these places, they don't see these things and try to replicate it in our own side?
They don't go to the farm. When they travel, they go to hotels. They don't know what's happening in the farm.
So they're not familiar with this one that you talked about planting in water?
No, they don't. They don't. So you're in the hotel and then they serve you carrots, you eat, and you come back to your country. You don't know how it's produced.
Okay. All right.
That's weird.
Yeah, it's not weird. It's just like anybody who comes, for example, if you
Those that came from dirty December.
yeah, you're going here.
That's it.
So they don't know what's happening in the farm. So except that you deliberately have to do maybe a study exchange to go to say, okay, we want to go and study farm system in these places, then of course you can find. But when people who want to do those things, they bring suggestions to us, it looks stupid. Take for example, when Aldo, God bless his soul, was talking about solving the problem of animal husbandry in Nigeria and talk about importing grasses to Nigeria. Everybody was mocking him. I said, look at these people. He can't even think of everything he wants to import. There's grasses everywhere. He wants to go and bring grass. And they didn't understand that the grass planting was a huge business in Brazil.
Yeah.
They might go to Brazil to go take grasses and they buy it to feed their cow. So cow don't just eat any kind of
grass.
So people don't understand some of these things. So they look at it as weird and say, how can somebody say you want to go and import grass? Which is a very big problem. And that's why up to today we have not also been able to deal with the issue of ranching in Nigeria. Because people don't understand that there's a value that should come from animal husbandry, for example. So if I'm farming cow, there's a level of investment I need to put in that farm.
True.
So that we can get value for money. Because our cow are not well fed. And therefore the hides are poor. The milk is poor. We don't have good yogurt. There's no cheese around here. Check it out. When you see what a small country like Denmark is taking away from cow farming alone, over $45 billion annually to sell milk, dairy products to Western countries. That's a fortune. I don't think our crude oil is able to give us that. So these are the things that we must deliberately, as a people, put our head together to say, how do we make this thing really very attractive? I went to a certain farm in South Africa. That farm has been there for God knows when. I think it was founded around 1861.
Even pre-appetite. Yeah,
1861. Massive land. Now it's a tourist center. So people want to drink fresh milk, they go there to go buy fresh milk. So these are the things that we must deliberately understand.
Okay.
So that in farming, it's not just about survival, it's beyond survival.
Yes.
It's for us to also understand that there's a prestige that comes with farm. And so when you see a farmer, and that's why a lot of people who went to seek asylum and they say to Americans and say, oh, your father is a farmer, and say, oh, you must be a very rich man. Because every American farmer is a rich person.
Okay, so doctor, we have some other policies challenges from the government. Now let's look at the business side of it. Some time ago, we had a guest here who told us that for those of them that are farmers, they sold a bag of cassava for like 10,000. And when people come to the farm and they buy the cassava and they bring them to the market and they sell the bag for 45,000, you can see the margin. Now, what are farmers not doing well? Or when we have food scarcity, is it the farmer's fault? We know that, yes, we are not producing much. Yes, we understand. But the little we are producing now, who is making it difficult for the people? Is it a farmer that because they're not producing much? Or the middlemen, those ones in the market that are selling? Then at the end of the day, you go to the market and you are buying a paint rubber or however it is called in a particular area. But for Lagos, a paint rubber, you're now buying a gari for 2,000 naira. Yesterday, I also spoke with a farmer who was also saying something similar. And these are some of the things. So right now, are we saying that because the farmers are not producing much, is that why we're having food scarcity? Or because the people, the middlemen in the market, because of the prices, they make things difficult for buyers?
Well, there are two sides to that conversation. The first side is the farmer. Like I said from day one, the farmers are still using very crude
Yes, systems. Okay.
And so when you're using crude implements, you need more hands in your farm to be able to produce more. That's why I gave you the instances, our grandfathers who were marrying 10, 15 wives, not because they needed a pleasure, they just needed to raise
More children, yes.
so that they can have
more hands in the farm.
You see, it's like somebody saying that in scripture that when your knife or your cutlass is sharpened, you waste less energy.
Sure.
But if it is blunt, so you will need to spend much energy. So this is a fundamental problem. So if you go to my village now, you're not going to see my age mate in numbers in my village. The people you are going to see in the village, they're going to be older men. And now strengths are failing them to be able to do farm. So now I am not in the village, I'm raising my children in the city. So that tells you that they're not going to have younger hands in the village. Now, what are they resorting to? They are resorting to also importing people from other ethnic groups where they feel they have people and bring them in to come and help them farm. But they are imagining that they are going to have 10 people to help clear maybe an acre of land, and each person is going to take 5,000, and that's about 50,000. And at the end of the year, the man is not even able to sell up to 70,000 in the year. So these are a problem. And this is just for clearing. For digging, he will pay. For weeding, he will pay.
Harvesting,
he will pay because he can't do it all alone. And that is really very capital intensive. That's why I'm talking about mechanization as a service. Where, for example, local government has tractors in numbers. State government has invested in tractor services. That rather than having use more hand to do farm, then of course these old people can rely on these tractor services to farm and probably excavate the soil, and then when they want to weed, they can use spray to clean the farm, and that makes work easier so they can have better harvest.
Is it that we do not understand these things or we do not teach it enough?
Well, I don't think it's a problem of understanding. And I think it's a problem of prioritization. It's prioritization. Because it's also benefiting a lot of people. Because when we make farmer poor, which is what many African countries have done, then of course we can continue to invest in the scam of helping smallholder farmers. So people say, oh, we are trying to supply fertilizer to farmers and then factor corruption into all of it. So that's why I call it the romanticization of smallholder farmers by government. So we're always talking about helping them. But we don't talk about the bigger farmer. There are bigger farmers in Nigeria. People who are having great farms.
Yeah. Yes.
When I went to Adamawa, I was shown Yanko's farm, massive farm. Nobody talk about Yanko as a farmer.
Otter Farm was very popular.
Oh yes, that was only one that everybody knows, Otter Farm. But what was coming out of Otter Farm, people really do not know, because if you actually get to Otter Farm, you are wondering, where is this farm? So the issue is that there are people who are actually involved in farming, and we need to encourage people. Growing up as a child, you see, the Ministry of Agriculture was very effective because then they sent extension workers to the village to come teach farmers new techniques and methods of farming. But today, the extension workers are in the office.
Well, we have courses in the university, agric economics, agricultural science, and all that. We teach them. We produce graduates. So what happens to those graduates?
Just like we produce computer graduates and mechanical engineering graduates, and then we cannot manufacture a car. So it's the same. It's the same thing. The same curriculum that is dead. That people are. You see, when I was in primary school, agric was not just a subject; it was a practice.
It was mandatory.
Not mandatory. It was a practice. We have farm in schools. We have farms where we plant yam, plant granite, plant maize, plant tomato, plant pepper. All manners of assorted fruits were planted. And at the end of the year, like school is graduating right now, going on vacation, the harvest will be done. Even every student will get a tuber of yam to go home. In primary school. So you are studying agriculture. You have not reared a fowl. So how do you now go to experiment it in the outside?
Yeah.
So agriculture is supposed to be a practice, not an examined course. That if I am going to be studying, because if you don't professionalize agriculture, just the way medicine is, just the way accounting is, you won't get the value out of it. You have to first professionalize agriculture so that people who get into agriculture, they understand what it is. And they can even do the calculation and say, okay, if I have an hectare of land, this is the much money I can get from it. So if people understand that there's value in it, they will not be looking for job outside. Because you have a lot of people who study agriculture and they're in the bank looking for jobs.
Yeah, but doctor, why is it so difficult that farmers find it difficult to have access to loans, bank loans? And we have...
Bank of Agriculture?
Yes, a Bank of Agriculture.
Yeah.
Yet, farmers find it difficult. One of my closest friends is into big time farming, big one. So when you mention loans, they just tell you, you don't know what
We've had somebody come and say the
We've
same
had
thing.
someone come here, he has also shared his own experience. Why is it so difficult?
Now, understand, banking is a business.
True.
So, this is how it works. If you want to borrow money, you submit a business plan to the bank. How you are able to pay back. What quantity of yield you have to produce in a year. So if you're asking bank to give you 10 million, for example, to go into farming, then you must be able to support it with a cash flow. That at the end of the borrowing year, if the tenure is 36 months or 24 months or 12 months as the case may be, that at the end of 12 months, 24 months or 36 months, then I'm able to pay back this loan based on what I'm going to produce in the farm.
Yeah.
Nobody can produce that kind of a business plan for farming.